University. It is truly inspiring to see each of you here this afternoon, all over 320 of you. And even though we are virtual, please know that your presence is reassuring to us and exciting for us. Thank you for being with us and welcome. These are truly some crazy and uncertain times, and we are challenged by COVID-19 and the realization that George Floyd was murdered in front of our very eyes. We're anxious and we're motivated, but we're also taking action. And even though we're in the midst of all of the wrongs, we are daily taking action to right these wrongs. I'm reminded of an old Southern civil rights movement saying, "We ain't what we ought to be, but thank God we ain't what we used to be." So the struggle continues, our action continues. And despite of all that we know that is going wrong, it is important for us to take time to celebrate the good. And you, our medical students, are the good. You are our hope and our dreams, and this is time for gratitude. We are grateful for you, your hard work, and your presence here. And as our incoming students, I know you are grateful for the parents and the friends and the supporters, all of those that in big ways and small ways have helped get you to this point. This is truly their celebration as well, their beginning with you. And your accomplishments are the focus today. The distance you've traveled to get to this point deserves recognition, deserves celebration, not just by you and us, but also by your friends and families. This is a time for gratitude and celebration. And I welcome you to this much needed and much anticipated celebration with you and your families and friends. I now introduce to you the president and CEO of our university, Dr. David Carlisle. He is a graduate of Wesleyan University, and he received his MD from Brown University. He is a board-certified internist with a master's in public health and a PhD in public health, both from UCLA. He is a published author, former leader of the California Office of Statewide Planning and Development. He is in his 9th year of his tenure as our president and CEO, and he is the one who continues to lead us through a dynamic growth phase here at CDU. So welcome, and I turn the program over to our president, Dr. David Carlisle.
Dean Prothero-Stith. Thank you, Dean Prothero-Stith. It is great to see you and everyone else who is joining us on this call this morning. Hello, Geffen Dean Kelsey Martin as well, and greetings to all of our incoming medical education program class of 2020. It is my privilege to introduce our supervisor, Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas. But before I do that, let me just say that this event is one of the highlights of the academic year for our university, Charles R. Drew School of Medicine and Science, University of Medicine and Science. And it is a real pleasure to be here because this really is the first real step that our medical students are taking on the pathway to becoming doctors. Once they have enrolled at medical school, they are virtually doctors, except for the passage of time. So we will really look forward to that passage of time. I'm looking forward to interacting with each and every one of you. But now it's my pleasure to introduce somebody who is very dear to our hearts at our university, Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. Indeed, we frankly would not even be here today if it wasn't for Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas. Some years ago, 10 years ago or so, this university was in a very, very, very fragile position. And Supervisor Ridley Thomas is one of the people who worked together to make sure that we would be here today to welcome you all 10 years later. I first met the supervisor when he was running for the assembly many years ago, worked with him in Sacramento, continued to work with him after arriving at CDU. And I can say affirmatively that there is no one more passionate about our university than Supervisor Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas. There is no one more committed to our university than Supervisor Ridley Thomas. And it's not just our university, it is the entire population of South Los Angeles, all roughly 1.3 million people in his district. This is a person who for his entire career has been passionate and committed to addressing the needs of our community. I remember when Supervisor Ridley Thomas was running for his current position that he has held since 2010, he made the campaign commitment that he would reopen Martin Luther King Hospital, and he has certainly delivered on that, as he is delivering on so many other things. And again, Supervisor Ridley Thomas is the person who has made CDU in many ways the place it is today. I just want to say thank you, Supervisor, for all that you've done, not just for our university, but for the entire community around our university, everyone you serve, and indeed everyone in LA County, the state of California, and especially our students in our medical education program. Now I bring you LA County 2nd District Supervisor, Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas.
I believe we lost the supervisor. I think he is there, but needs to be unmuted. So we're working on the technical aspect of it. Just give us 1 minute here. I think we may want to proceed, and when we're able to get the supervisor unmuted, we can come back and have him speak with us. I see that Dean Kelsey Martin is with us this afternoon. She is Dean of the Geffen School of Medicine and our partner in the medical education program. I am pleased. She's an esteemed, internationally recognized scientist, but I'm also very pleased to call her a friend and a colleague. So Dean Martin, I'm going to ask that you bring us comments.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. So thank you, Dr. Prothero-Stith, and thank you, Dr. Carlisle. And I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be here. I agree, we need to celebrate, and it gives me joy to see all of our incoming students just in the gallery of images, and many with their families, because indeed this is one of my favorite events of the year. And it's so special at CDU because the families are there, the loved ones, the ones who've really, upon whose shoulders our incoming class stands. So as the Dean at the David Geffen School of Medicine, I'm just delighted to welcome you and your loved ones to a new academic home. And it's a rich training ground that has really prepared and inspired generations of distinguished physicians and physician scientists who've improved the health and the well-being of our local and our global communities. And you're going to begin today your quest by donning your white coat, which is a garment that dates back more than 100 years. And it's a profound and a precious privilege that is earned wearing that white coat. And it's earned every day through scientific inquiry, through moral courage, through the practice of empathy, and to a real commitment to justice and to health equity. And since 1978, UCLA has partnered with Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science to operate the Drew UCLA Medical Education Program, which is a unique joint medical degree program that trains physicians who are dedicated to healing underserved communities and addressing healthcare disparities. During your time here, our joint medical program will provide you with the skills and expertise and the opportunities to become physician leaders who are going to advance the scholarly and humane aspects of medicine. Who will stay grounded in data and constantly reevaluate the way that we provide the best care for those in need. Students who, above everything else, will have the moral courage to do what's right in every situation, no matter the circumstance. And at the same time, we look to you, to you as medical students, to enrich and to engage our CDU and UCLA communities through your unique backgrounds, experiences, and contributions, your passion, your advocacy, and your curiosity. So you're entering medicine at a time where we need you more than ever. We need you. I think COVID-19 has illustrated the tremendous need and dependence of humanity on science and medicine. And you are, as Dr. Prothero-Stith said, you are the hope for the future. And so I couldn't be more honored to welcome you. I look forward to getting to know all of you in the coming years. And the most shocking thing of all is that in the wink of an eye, I'm going to be seeing you again at commencement. But in the meantime, I look forward to getting to know all of you and to being available to help support your career and your training. Welcome.
forward him over the link that you sent over.
We've only used we use what was sent.
All right, if you, so apologies for the technical difficulties we are having. We have located the supervisor, I believe. He's been with us the whole time, listening and hearing our comments and remarks. He is among the 391 of you. And I believe he just raised his hand so that we can find him. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties. Supervisor, I can now see you by video.
Yes.
And we are going to turn the program over to you. As the president said, this is a champion of Charles R. Drew University and the reason that we are here and able to grow the way we are growing. Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Dean, Mr. President. I'm delighted to be here and just to participate in the program and have the opportunity to salute the work of Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. I'm all in, and I invite others to do likewise. For more than 2 decades, the person who I have the privilege to introduce has distinguished himself as a fierce advocate and a trailblazer across the nation. He is none other than Dr. Garth Graham. And he's been on the front line doing the work that needs to be done. And we respect him for that. Speaking and preaching and practicing what it means to engage in the equitable outcomes and to assuage disproportionality and all kinds of healthcare disparities. In this fight to ensure health equity, I'm constantly reminded of what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said more than 50 years ago. It's on the building right outside Keck on the campus of the university. And I quote, "Of all the forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane," end quote. This is still relevant today, as we well know, as we confront one of the most devastating public health crises in modern history. Here on our very own doorstep, we're fighting a global pandemic of unprecedented scale and impact that continues to exacerbate racial and economic disparities in healthcare access. And I want to say, as we blaze a path forward in the face of increasing inequity and inequality, I'm grateful to Dr. Graham, to Dr. Carlisle, to Dr. Prothero Stith, and the whole CDU community for responding to the call for action and partnering with us in the push for change, the push for better health outcomes. And I want to say further, since April, it's well known and it should be celebrated that CDU was able to test more than 60,000 African American and Latinx community members right on that campus in cooperation with the Martin Luther King Outpatient Center, a collaborative effort with the County of Los Angeles. And Dr. Graham, we ought to be proud of CDU for that. And so this is central to the work of community empowerment and health outcomes. And to improve those outcomes, we have to engage, we have to educate, and we have to empower. So this very easily, very comfortably, and very appropriately overlaps with the work that Dr. Graham has done and what his life has spoken to, and the vision that he essentially personifies. As a doctor and teacher, the Aetna Foundation and CVS Health, he has created and continues to innovate with new partnerships and implementing community health programs and initiatives. He is a leader in our fight for health equity, a fierce advocate for the underserved populations, and a champion for community empowerment. I believe I speak for all when I say that Dr. Graham has pursued his work with exceptional vision, expertise, and passion. It is a testament, I believe, to the impact of his work and belief in the value of that which he is contributing. With that, I ask you all to please welcome Dr. Garth Graham, and I thank you. Dr. Graham.
Supervisor Ridley Thomas, a man who has made history. I am proud and honored to have worked with you, to view you even as a mentor for a lot of us who are coming behind you and trying to make a change and have an impact in this world. And I'm gonna hold up and come back to your life, Supervisor Ridley Thomas, and when I talk a little bit about mentorship and people who have made change in terms of the kinds of things that the class of 2024 should be thinking about as you all as you all have become, started on this journey as clinicians, as teachers, and even as heroes. And I'm going to come back to that in a second. Before I start, I certainly want to recognize President Carlisle, a man who has accomplished a lot for a lot of individuals across the country, and certainly in the state of California. Provost Steve Michael. Certainly also want to recognize Dean Kelsey Martin, Associate Dean Daphne Kalm, who runs the program, and my longtime mentor, Dr. Deborah Prothrow-Stiff, who you are going to be meeting and working with her in terms of all the students, and she herself is an example of history and greatness. Let me start off by telling you a little bit about yourselves before I talk a little bit about my own personal journey. You know, this 39th class, a class of 2024, is a class of history. You're coming in, as Supervisor Ridley Thomas said, not only just in terms of a historic moment, but you're history making just in terms of the trail that has been before you, the history of the institution you're entering, the kinds of people who have been a part of this institution, the things that they have done for the country. I see many of you sitting with your families, and your families right now should be both reassured, if not awestruck, of the kind of place that these young, and I can say young, because I think I'm old now, these young folks are entering in terms of just the kinds of impact that Charles Drew University has had on the community and nationally for a while. So in terms of the rest of your class, this is truly a multicultural class representing all that is good about not just Los Angeles County, but all that is good about our country. 28% of this class is first generation college students. 80% are from the state of California. 86%, I should say, are from the state of California and represent a vast array of experiences. There are actually folks here who were born at the King Drew Medical Center and another student who was born at the Olive View Medical Center. And one even attended the King Drew Medical Magnet High School. So we're talking about people that are part of the community, part of the fabric, and I think, quite frankly, going to be what happens in terms of change. You know, Supervisor Ridley Thomas, as well as Dean Prothrow-Stiff and President Carlisle mentioned this moment in history. One of the things you all should understand now is medicine has changed. Medicine has changed so dramatically just over the past couple of months. You know, I still practice medicine as a cardiologist, and a couple of months ago, I should say, about 6 or 8 weeks ago, when I was coming out of the hospital, people were standing up and clapping. I want to tell you, as long as I've been in clinical medicine, I have never had a standing ovation just walking past people in my life. And the reason they were clapping is because we're all thought of as heroes now. So all of you are entering the profession of heroism. You're entering the profession where people view you not just as regular individuals. You are now putting on capes. That white coat is representing what the world is looking for, both for where we need to get out of things currently, but also where we need to go. And it's amazing what it's like now to become genuine heroes. That's the kind of training you're going to be embarking on, but that is how you're going to be viewed. Part of what you'll learn and your family will learn as they have worked so hard to bring you to this point is once you enter this profession, from this day on, your life will be different. People will view you differently. They'll expect a lot from you. They want you to not just be their healers, their caregivers. Many of you will expect them to be their teachers. Many of your patients will expect you to save their life, quite frankly. You're going to be in places and being a part of people's lives in a way that you could never imagine. You're going to be touching people at their brightest hour and at their darkest hour. You're going to be touching people when they need your brilliance, they need your life experiences, they need everything you can bring to the table right at that moment. And for the families who are sitting around these newfound heroes, watching them put on their capes, how proud you should be that you have been able to bring these young folks, again, I can say young folks, there's a time I could say that, but now I can, or it's the younger folks, into the practice of medicine in a way like never before. I hope to leave you with 3 points as you begin your superhero journey. And I hope that as you go through the rest of this journey, you will hopefully remember at least 1 or 2 of these. And I'll tell you, when I was graduate medical school, these were some of the points that were taught to me then. So I'm passing on part of what I learned, which is going to be a part of what you will do when you pass on information to other people coming behind you. The first thing I'll say on this superhero journey that you're about to begin on is remember who you are. These next couple of months to years are going to test you like you've never been tested before. You're going to walk into situations where you know it all. You'd have read and studied it, and you would have had a certain level of confidence that's going to allow you to treat and take care of people that need you the most. Then there are times you're going to walk into a room and you're going to not know what to do. You're going to be struggling, you'll be nervous, you'll be frightened. And what I want you to remember is whatever brought you to this point, whatever brought you to be a part of the class of 2024, whether that be for some of us and for me, it was my faith that brought me through a lot in life and then continued to get me through. It may be family. It may be even sometimes an innate sense of just who you are. At those most challenging moments of doubt, of when you're stretching yourself to the fullest, take a second and just remember who you are and how you got there. That in itself is an amazing accomplishment, just being a part of this faculty of medicine that you're now starting on and continuing to have that drive. I'll tell you, once when I was in medical school, I walked out of a room I was studying, and one of my professors who forgot that I was a professor, he gave me a trash can to empty because he thought I was just there to clean. I took the trash can and emptied it anyway because I didn't understand what was going on. And then afterwards, it kind of bothered my psyche. I thought to myself, well, did he forget that who I am? Did he remember that I'm in his class, which he totally forgot? Started getting all these periods of doubt. I went home and I was talking to my mom. She said, does it matter? You know who you are. And that's the thing I hope you remember as my first point, as I'm saying, in terms of remembering what got you there. Don't forget who you are. The second point I'll make in terms of something that you've often heard is don't forget where you came from. Part of the legacy of the Charles Drew University, part of the legacy of this whole institution, and by the way, the historic nature of this institution during this historic time is just amazing to be stepping into dealing with both health and issues around equity at a time when our country this is the #1 thing in this country. And you are stepping into this right now. it's important to then remember again where you came from. A lot of you, like myself, or first-time college graduates, a lot of you may have come from different kinds of backgrounds that are not normally represented in medicine. Right now, for instance, African Americans only make up 5% of doctors. And when you think about men, African American men who are doctors, that's even a smaller percent. Similarly for Latinx community, where you have a very small percentage of folks from these communities making our way through to be leaders and heroes, as you all are about to be. But the unique thing you have is that perspective, that background, that insight, that understanding of all the kinds of challenges that our communities have been through. And that's what this country needs more than ever. In fact, not just this country, that's what this world needs more than ever during this most challenging time. So it's a part of, like I said, issue number one, to remember, is a part of who you are, but it's also a part of remembering where you come from. When I'm looking at the family sitting in the room with many of the students here today, I think you all have created that person. You all have put in the ingredients, you all have put in the butter and the milk and the sugar and the spice and everything nice that kind of tied up to this person who is about to now become a hero, a part of the hero team in the United States overall. And so you are a part of that ingredient. I want you all to look at people who made you a part of this fabric and recognize that's where you came from. The last thing I'll tell you, and it goes to thinking about how you make a successful future, is remember that you are walking on the shoulders of many other people. Utilize mentors, reach out to folks. Dr. Prothero-Stith, your dean, I used to read about her before I even met her. And I used to read about Deborah, and I used to think of like she'd be one of those people who I hope to emulate in life. And when we first met and she started mentoring me through a lot of different things in life, it was just amazing to have that understanding, that history, not to repeat the same mistakes, understanding how to navigate systems. And so this concept of reaching out and having mentors is important. My life has taken me from where I grew up through a variety of different challenges to getting into medical school, graduating medical school, becoming a cardiologist, training even further, becoming an interventional cardiologist. I then entered the Obama administration, worked, and then now to my role at CVS Health, where quite frankly, I'm in charge of all of the health and community aspects that CVS is doing across the country. We touch most Americans every day. We have CVS's in 10,000 communities across the country. Most Americans live just within a couple of miles. And we have the ability to influence and do things, and are doing things, especially during this pandemic, like never before. And I would never have gotten here to have this opportunity if I didn't, one, remember who I was during those kind of most challenging moments. Two, remember where I came from, looking at my mom, looking at my dad, looking at the kinds of people in my family. One of the most inspirational moments I had in my life was when my mom got to meet the president. There was an event at the White House, and all of us who were in the administration, we all got people to, we all had to bring somebody, and people brought their wives, and I wasn't married then, so I brought my mom. And when I was walking in, the guy said to us, "Oh, how honored you all must be to meet the president of the United States." And I said to the guy, I was like, "No," I said, "I hope the president of the United States is really honored to meet my mom." And the reason is because she was the really important part of my life. The president is a wonderful gentleman. Of course, we all miss him. Let me just put it that way. And wish a lot will change. But beyond that point, the thing to remember there is those people who have invested in you can take you places like you've never imagined. And who would have thought that we would have been in the Oval Office, me, Sybil Graham, and the President of the United States taking pictures. And that's a kind of opportunity that comes with having confidence in yourself, having confidence in where you're coming from, but then more importantly as well, being smart, having mentors, understanding how you navigate, whether you want to become a primary care physician, a researcher, a health policy administration person like myself, or quite frankly, a civil rights leader like Supervisor Ridley Thomas, who, when you meet him, is a very humble person, but my goodness, the kinds of things he has done to shape LA County to even shape the national discussion about all of these things is another person who we all, you, me, should always kind of have in our minds in terms of aspiration and impact. And the whole thing to understand here is that as a class of 2024, as I said before, you are entering a hero's journey. You don't need to do it alone. You need to have that vision of who you're looking forward to, people you may want to be like, or you may just want to be yourself, whichever one. But more importantly, the core factors. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget who brought you here. Don't forget the people who invested in you to put on this cape like you're doing today. And then don't go the road alone. Rely on people, reach out to mentors, you have a lot of greats around you. Again, Dean Prothero-Stith, who was blazed the chart for women in medicine, and back at a time when women had never even led public health agencies in the way she did, and did all kinds of things for violence. She put violence on the map during the Clinton era and all kinds of things. So you have to understand kind of the ingredients of greatness you have around you, and understand that as this institution you are entering in is a historic institution for not just LA County, it's a historic institution for the country. And quite frankly, the way the country is going now, we need a lot of history to help kind of get us back to the right spot. So I'm gonna, hopefully, I've literally gone over my time, and just hopefully you'll just remember those things as you go through. I heard these very statements when I was at my white coat ceremony. I heard two of these statements, and it always stuck to me. And when I was dropping things in the operating room and fumbling stuff, I was like, remember who I am. And those kinds of Zen moments kind of always brought me back to that inner peace and inner confidence. So hopefully you will continue that trail. And then when you give your own white coat ceremony or convocation speech or whatever you do in the future, when you bring your mom and your dad to the White House to meet the president, I hope you will remember just the kinds of things that brought you there. And quite frankly, today, if you can, turn around and say thank you to some of those people who got you there, because no one gets here alone, because that